Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Sports Wrap. George Ringer. Hey, it's been, I don't know, what, 10 days since we last
A
did
lot
this?
of sports over the dam.
A lot of sports over the dam, under the bridge, through the woods, the grandmother house. We had to push it back a couple of days. We had to give Tim some time to get.
Well, you talk about sports. I mean, you were doing it, man. So this is just kind of the way it. It was really
9 out of the last 10 days on the air for sports.
No, and the weekend with you and Dwayne doing the swim meet and stuff like this. This is groundbreaking circumstance,
So we've been working. We've been doing it. So, geez, there's so many places to go. What should we start with?
You can just pick a point.
Let's start with basketball.
Well, let's start with basketball.
I don't know. The selection show's coming up on Sunday.
It is.
The Big Ten tournament, the ACC, the Big 12, the Big East, the Pac-12. Everybody's got their big tournament going on this weekend. So let's start there. I mean, I could try to start to list all the upsets, but it's not even worth it because it's already previewing what the tournament's going to be like. If there is a complete bracket that has everybody right after the first weekend, they should run to Vegas and start betting their brains out because there is no way. I mean, last year we had a 15 and a 12 or whatever make it through to the Sweet 16. I don't know what's going to happen.
No, that's why they call it March Madness. But it's through and through. For instance, when you're in sports media, you have connections all over the place, and I have a connection in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, explaining to me how South Dakota beat South Dakota State to win the Summit League championship and are now into the Division I program. And what about this team? And she says, they have Hannah Surgevin, and you know where Hannah's from? She's from Rogers, Minnesota. She's 6'2". Okay. She averages about 17 points and about 10 rebounds a game. She's really cleans up. She's a young lady that came to that played her first year at New Mexico and then came back and has been stellar for South Dakota, the Coyotes. And they have another lady. Her name is Chloe Lamb, and Chloe Lamb is kind of this 5'10" point guard, scooter basketball type person, and she's actually leading the team in scoring. And so between the two of them, these things, they sparked it up, and they I don't know what was their they were 27-5 for the year, and so so my connection says you gotta say fifth time in the NCAA Division I in this Division I tourney appearances. 4th straight NCAA qualification, 3rd straight conference championship, which is that Summit's a pretty good conference. So then she says, keep an eye on this group. They're good. So I already have all of a sudden some of the women's teams, Tim, are just going to be amazing this year.
Yeah, it's you get Paige back for UConn, and of course South Carolina loses to Miami, to Kentucky, excuse me, and Miami was. Did you see this girl? I can't remember her name. It was a week ago already. Yeah. That's why. But she scored the last 17 points of the game over the final 4 minutes. Louisville didn't score a point, and they came back from a 15-0 deficit. These are how legends are made, right?
This is how legends are made, and and still, the women, they're still breaking so much ice, and all of a sudden they just think, holy buckets, these kids can really score, and they can play defense, and they can run, and they can jump. Women's basketball, in the state of down in Iowa, they kept women's basketball alive down there. They had that goofy basketball system, but that was one of the most popular state tournaments that they had, was the women's, way back when we had any women's sports at all. And so, it kind of stayed there, and I suppose it was better to be out on a basketball court than a wrestling room, because that's the only other thing to do.
Well, I'll say it this way. When you look at the women's basketball tournament, you used to say there are only 2 teams or 3 teams that can win the championship.
Yeah.
Then I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe you got it out to maybe 6 teams. Maybe all the top, the 2s might win. Now I'm saying you got maybe 10 or 11, maybe 12 teams out there that have a chance. Maybe those 10, 11, 12 don't have a great chance, but all those top 8, the 2-2 or the 4-2s and the 4-1s, they all have a chance.
Well, you know, I mean, I love the way they do this seeding, and the seeding is great, and the pairing's great, except that they can't explain how come the 11 and 13s win a whole bunch of basketball games. And so when I pick my bracket between both men and women, the first thing I try to pick out, where are the upsets? And they're there, and you know, and it's kind of, you know, they're hidden in that camouflage, and all you have to do is sort it out. And it's you know, that tournament's like no other, and that's why the whole country goes crazy over it.
It is. It'd be crazy. So did you watch the Gophers on Wednesday night with their debacle against Penn State?
Yes.
I was horrified at the score.
Well, they had the Gophers. The Gophers played basically 5 men with the exception of 30-some seconds, and Stevens was sick, and so they only had 5 guys. They finished with the same 5 guys they had, and they had to give Eric Curry a break. He was dead on his feet. But you know, I'm telling you, at that level, it's very difficult for me to see how you can experience success with 5 people. The brutality of running up and down the court and playing defense, they couldn't hit their shots at the end of the game.
So because I didn't get to watch the game because I was doing a hockey game on the radio, and I didn't really read a lot about it because it's kind of like, well, there's plenty of other stuff like the state hockey tournament to digest with your time and whatever else. But it seemed I did get home and did flip through the channels, and they were having the Gopher press conference on, and on the bottom it said 4 players play 40 minutes. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous.
Well,
so
no,
for the first time in my life, what you're telling me, I'm questioning Ben Johnson on his rationale.
Well, and in fact, as the story goes, the guys on the bench went to him and said, "Coach, you've got to play. If we're going to win this game, you got to play your top 5, and you got to play them." And but I have never known a coach to take a whole lot of solace from his bench players, but this is what they did. This, as far as I know, this has not happened very often, and you know, and it's once it was halfway through the second half, and I thought, they're going to do no subbing at all.
Well,
and they did not.
My father, God rest his soul, he always used to tell us that when we were in high school, why'd you come out of the game? And I'm like, because the coach said me to come out of the game. Well, how can you be tired? You're 17 years old. How can you get tired in a basketball game? I'm like, are you serious? He's like, no, well, it's only 32 minutes. They take breaks at halftime and in between the quarters. You should be able to run forever. And I'm like, wow. I never thought about that way, and I don't believe in that system. And that's why I'm a little bit shocked about Ben Johnson, and I'm shocked with the players, because I understand that you need to play your best guys, but even a 2-minute rest.
Well, you know,
ginormous,
and that's why they had to pull Curry out. Stevens went in, but he'd been suffering from migraine headaches. And so, you know, and he said, "I'm ready to go, Coach." But, you know, when you got a kid that come to you and say, "I'm suffering from migraine headaches," and you put him on the court and something happens to that kid, I can understand where you'd be reluctant. So it was a circumstance. They've always had a weak bench. It's been their downfall most of the season, and you know, maybe he can fix that up a little bit. But unless you have Battles and Peyton Willis really digging out constantly, and then of course Eric Curry, I love the man. I mean, what he did for this team this year was just amazing. But he couldn't buy a bucket, and he was trying to shoot threes because, well, sometimes threes are easier to get than swiveling around and banging inside.
Okay, so Penn State beats Ohio State last night. Did you see any of that?
I caught the tail end of that one too. Yeah.
Well, there's Hermantown tying the score. It's everything's right in the world. Hermantown and Alexandria on the TV as we do this in the first period. And anyway, I guess I have to say I was shocked.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I saw, Penn State's been improving right along, and anything can happen in that Big Ten tournament, just like anything else. Man, there's just upsets all over the place. And in the case of Ohio State, they're going to get invited to the show. I mean, almost everybody is.
Yeah, Auburn loses today to Texas A&M. Auburn got to be out there, got to be considered. They were number one for a few weeks, so that has to be considered a major upset. Duke was on the ropes the other night against Syracuse, ended up pulling it up, and like I said, it's been interesting to see how all the things have panned out. Illinois comes back on Sunday, beats Iowa to take the number one seed. I mean, in my mind, Illinois, Lenardi's saying they could be a 3 seed, and I guess I understand why, but I don't understand why, because as Mike Bolstead would say, they got Kofi, but they don't win the eye test with Tim.
Kofi's a big item to have, and they're coming along nicely, and right now. They're the toughest team in the Big Ten to beat. Whether or not they can take it.
Cheeseheads?
I'm telling you, the Cheeseheads are really kind of inconsistent. If Davis is back playing full strength, you can go out there with 2 little sisters of the poor and a couple of old men and do pretty well with him. He's a really fine basketball player.
And what about Purdue?
Well,
see, I'm just saying, any of those 3 teams,
they're all very good, and they've all been rated in the top 5 of somewhere out through the year. But it was amazing for a long time. It was always Indiana; they were always the one to beat. And Ohio State was always the one to beat. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan was always the one to beat. And Juwan, he made his entrance again last night.
He also blew a 15 or 17 point lead to the Wolverines, and they say they're still getting in. And they were the number 8 team in the Big Ten.
They were a pretty inconsistent basketball team this year, especially on defense.
I can't see if I've got Michigan picking Michigan to win more than 1 game, depending upon where they get seeded.
Yeah.
But I would guess it'll be a double-digit seed, a 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. But just like you said, you always got to pick one of those upsets, so maybe there it is.
And then, and I figure there's almost one in every bracket, and then, of course, you get to that 7-5, and, these teams are all pretty close, and by that time, if you like their school song and their colors are good, hey, go with it.
Well, you got to go with teams that have good head coaches that make adjustments on the fly on the second day, because they prepare better. They get their kids into a better place.
On top of that,
that's why Tom Izzo, you hope that you beat Tom Izzo on the first day, because if you get him on the second day, you're not gonna be prepared enough.
No,
because Tom's got his boys ready to go.
And that's why he's such a great coach. Besides, at halftime, he can go in and see what he has to adjust and makes those adjustments right now.
And that's why I say Michigan State's always dangerous on day 2 of the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
It'll be fun to watch.
And everything else.
Yeah.
How about our Minnesota Timberwolves? As long as we're in the basketball mode.
As long as Big Carl's in there hooking and crooking, boy, I'll tell you, that is a very good
part is he only had 13 points the other night against Oklahoma City. Now, I don't know how many minutes he played, but he had 13 and 11. Obviously there are nights when you don't need it because they won by 30 points.
Well, who come and crept in, and I've been talking about keeping an eye on this guy. Noel comes in and picks up 21 points, and if there's somebody on the bench that come off and do this when they're double teaming or teaming down on the big man, you can do this. Besides, Anthony Edwards, he says his knee is getting better and he's pretty much ready to go back to work. And
had some minutes, had 16 points the other night.
Now, my question for you is, can they get out of the first round? Can they make it through the playoffs in the first round?
He's got a shack down in Birchdale, cabin down there.
I'll say it this way: if they're the 7 and they got to play Golden State or Phoenix, no chance. I mean, if they're 7 or 8 in that area, if they get to 6 and they can get past Denver and that's a possibility, and they get the 3 seed, whoever that may be, then I say they have a chance. But seven's not a good place to be. I don't think you can beat Golden State in a 7-game series. If you were playing Golden State in a 3-game series, I'd say, okay, you got a chance. 7 games, I wouldn't give the Wolves much of a chance over that span. But get to that 6th seed. And they've got what 20 games or so left.
Yeah.
And we'll
17,
see.
I think.
But
Yeah.
But Beasley makes 11 threes the other night. That's not too bad. Scores 33 points, all of them on 3-pointers.
Yeah.
And
I've been listening to Mike Rand's podcast, Star Tribune podcast, and once a week they have the Timberwolves expert over there and the sports writer over there. And I've been learning a little something about pro basketball. It's not like other basketball.
it's different.
It's a different game. And so, but he's, I know that there are an awful lot of people would really like this team to go far, or at least go somewhere. And this never happened. There's excitement in the gym, and the kids are looking up to these guys, and they seem to be a pretty good group.
I say this about every sport. Every team's got to get to that level and then fail because it drives you for the next year.
Yeah.
This team would be great if they could taste some success in the playoffs, but they're not. I mean, they're not going to make a big run in the playoffs. I mean, anything's possible, but this is a team that needs to have that. How can I say? You get hit in the nose with a rolled up newspaper type of thing, or get kicked in where the sun doesn't shine, because that will drive the team in the offseason to get even better, and then maybe, and then Steph Curry will be a year older, and Klay Thompson will be and some of these guys, obviously that's what you're looking at, and Denver's sitting above them, and Denver's going to be no slouch. I mean, they've got the defending MVP and Nikola Jokic and everything else, so.
Well, and it's just like there are just incredible talent all over Milwaukee and Denver, and of course our friend at Golden State. These teams, they make these teams great. They really do. Yeah.
Well, shall we talk hockey next?
Let's talk a little hockey.
Do you want to start with the Wild?
We can start with the Wild. Last night they were wild.
Last night was another one of those typical Wild games, and the fact that they just can't seem to do it on a consistent basis, where they just go out and take care of business. But again, here's what I've been trying to tell people. They've played quite a few road games over the last couple of weeks.
Crisscross Canada.
And when you are on the road, there's something called the last change. And so the home team gets to decide who they're going to put out on the ice last. And that makes a difference for certain parts of the game, I believe. And the Wild were good enough to hang on and get the win in the shootout last night. Our good friend Kirill got his 29th of the season, so that's not too shabby. And they persevered.
They persevered. Persevered.
That has 3 syllables in it.
I have no idea what that means, but it's good. They're skating well. They're a zip team. The big thing, the question is everybody has is, can they carry on a physical hockey game? Well, they like to avoid that, I think, and that's fine.
How about the fight last night, though?
Well, the fight was good, and that's why they start seeing it pick it up. I got the replay. They're not going to take any grief. Besides, some of those guys are huge. They're 6'5" to begin with, and they're on skates. It's
imposing.
Yeah, it's imposing. All right.
I think the big question right now is where's Cam? Cam Talbot makes the All-Star game. Kakinen was playing so well.
Talbot played last night too.
Wherever when Talbot wasn't playing. Right now things are a little shaky. Talbot gives up 5 goals last night. You kind of wonder where does that put him at? But he made 2 big saves in the shootout, and so you just, like I said, there's some question marks. Yeah.
Sir, did you announce for the PWA hockey tournament?
I did do the PWA hockey.
Did you really?
I did.
You were one hell of an announcer.
Isn't he something?
Thank you.
I agree.
I appreciate that. That's nice to hear.
Really, really good announcer.
All you got to do is name the kids a lot and the parents once in a while. You got to cover.
No, you did. You did a wonderful. No, you did. I really enjoyed it.
It was fun. It was fun. The kids competed the heck out of it.
Oh, boy.
Laid it out on the ice all weekend.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend. I'm glad I was there. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there you go. Pee Wee A hockey. Who knew? I was telling. I told Sheldon Slayball last night. I said, "Did I tell you about Pee Wee A hockey?" He's kind of like, "No." So I told him what we did. He's like, "And you go out and you do it, make it happen."
Well,
right?
yeah, that's right. And and when I look, my grandsons are playing squirt and mite, but they go to these arenas. They all have situations in which their camera turns into a computer, and so they broadcast these games, Live Barn, and some of the rest of these. These are, I mean, these are 10, 11-year-old kids. And grandparents like me can watch them play. And somebody said to me, well, maybe parents should let their kids go to the rink. Yeah, well, grandparents want to watch them play. That's kind of the way we work. So I think this is a whole new deal, and I'm all for it. This is great.
So anyway, the Wild. Final thoughts? Were we done?
No, No, I enjoy watching my favorite player, Matt Dumba, and the Fiala line. That's a really fun line to watch, and it's that's a good crop of hockey players.
They got Greenway back. They got Dumba back this past week, and I think I heard the announcer say that was it Tuesday night they were at home. They said that's the first time that the team has had everybody that they had like on day whenever it was since before Christmas. So
they've had a lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries, lots of things dealt with, and I know there were people out there calling that we should blow them up, that this team wasn't as good. They needed a new identity.
No.
Trade for players, and the trade deadline is still coming, and I don't think Bill Guerin is going to blow this team up in the fact of a 2-week slump, and
he spent 3 years building this team.
I don't think the Wild can make a run at it and make a run at the title, but I think he's thinking one more year down the line, next year. Let's get everything together, and so.
Last year
they up 3-1, by the way. Anyway,
last year they made absolutely no trades whatsoever. I predict that's pretty much the way it's going to be this year, unless somebody can offer him a whole lot of money who's panicking in need of a specific.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's something that he won't mortgage the future.
No.
and say, well, we got to win now.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's thinking that way, that this team isn't built for the future, with Rossi coming up and these kids that are coming up from the minors, I think there's some good players there. So who knows? He might, but I don't think he's going to. So
let's talk about UMD hockey. Do they not play St. Cloud State?
They play St. Cloud State again this weekend after they peed it away. I'll try to be nice about it. Last week, St. Cloud State, all they needed was to get 4 points out of the weekend. They got exactly 4 points, so that tied them with UMD, and they had the tiebreaker. So UMD tonight playing at St. Cloud State in the first round of the best of 3 quarterfinals, and kind of hoping that the Bulldogs can do some damage and make it to the semis. I know Uncle Paul's worried about whether this team is going to make the tournament. Win one game. Don't have to win both. Win one game at St. Cloud, you're in my mind. Get swept. Now things could get very interesting. You are losing to a team above you. You're putting yourself in danger with all the conference champions that could come through and take those spots. There are other teams that should be more worried going into this weekend, but the Bulldogs have not been able to be consistent enough. I mean, I never would doubt Scott Sandlin that he can pull a team together and get them all going.
He's an outstanding coach, and
rowing in the right direction, to steal a phrase. But they seem to be lacking a little extra firepower. But if you make it to the final 16 teams, anything can happen.
Oh, look at UMD has come down from the bottom and gone all the way to the top. UMD women have been successful. They knocked off Harvard 4-0 the other night, and that's the first round of their NCAA tournament.
Now they get the Gophers, who they lost
they get the
5-1
Gophers.
last
Yeah.
weekend, and the Gophers were the number 1 team in the nation until Ohio State beat them the following day in the WCHA final championship game. I'm as a Bulldog fan, I'm concerned what the Gophers could do that to them tomorrow on their home ice, but at the same time, a goaltender gets hot. I don't think it's going to be a 5-1 game. I guess.
No, I don't think so either.
I think it's going to be closer. The Bulldogs will have the work cut out for them, but the WCHA women's is the premier conference in the nation, and we'll see how things go.
Oh, it really is, yeah. And so I'm pulling for them all the way. I love Lady Dogs.
Yeah, well, before we forget, I want to go back to basketball segment.
Okay.
Speaking of Lady Dogs, the UMD women played in the Division II tournament today. They lost to Nebraska Kearney 77-70. A very good year. The men's team, better chance to advance. They play tomorrow. So just to finish the basketball, I thought UMD basketball. There was too many things to watch. There was curling on this morning. There was the state hockey tournament, and then of course this women's basketball game. But like I said, you only have so many devices. How many things can you have on in front of you and do any of them justice? But UMD women had a heck of a year. It would have been fun to see them make another round or two. But that's the way it goes. So
I have been spending a little bit of time watching some high school hockey.
Yeah. What did you find out?
I'm finding out that that World's really a good hockey team. I found out that
I think I maybe told you that back in December when I watched them play the Broncos.
Yeah, you did.
At that first line of Hart Chagaday Gardner, thank you.
And Hurt,
they're pretty good.
Oh, they're very good. I think that line got all the points in today's game, and I'm not so sure. I mean, Gardner has just been incredible. And Sagabay might be the most talented one of the bunch.
And he's going to be a Bulldog.
I know it.
That's the only friend
obviously, there's lots to love about War Road because they're from the north, and there's lots to hate because they're War Road, right?
Yeah.
And hate maybe a whatever word, but you know what they do to get to be good every year. Yes, they develop talent, but obviously they bring a share of their talent in. But of course, it's northern Minnesota, and what would be more fun on Saturday than to see Hermantown versus War Road? Does that sound familiar? From
that's going to be. And Hermantown, of course, they beat them 2-1 in overtime.
But remember, War Road beat Proctor Hermantown and the girls 2 weeks ago. So,
and they asked Mr. Gardner, the girls won it last week, and he says, yes, we would love to make it a sweep. And I thought, but keep in mind, this is a town that builds a skating track around the whole town. You see, and you just, hey, let's go skating, Dad. Where are you going to go? Take a lap.
There you go.
So I think that there is a culture there that's just a little bit, and I was talking with my friend over there, and there's some advantages to the way World's there from the Christian Brothers on up. That's where
it's Hockeytown USA.
Yeah.
There you go. So, obviously Hermantown put 50 shots on goal on New Prague the first day, only won 5-1, so give a lot of credit to the New Prague goalie, and of course your new friend Mr. Bump.
Yeah. Oh.
From Prior Lake.
No, you see, Prior Lake wasn't supposed to bump anybody.
They weren't supposed to bump
Cretin-Durham Hall.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
And I watched the first 3 goals go in, and they were talking about Mr. Bump, and I thought, oh man, this kid's pretty good. And of course he went and got 2 more. But Cretin was not ever in the hockey game.
No, and why? And then they lost to Edina in the consolation today.
So they got to live with that the rest of their lives now.
To your blanking grave, boys. To your blanking grave.
Yeah.
As our friend Herb Brooks would say.
Yeah.
So it's high school hockey. When you play in those 8.
When you about the Hermantown Cake Eaters?
The Cake Eaters. There you go.
See,
I thought that was Edina.
No, that's Hermantown right now.
Yeah.
They should be playing AA.
So you look at those 8 teams in the AA. any one of those 8 teams can really win it. I mean,
Well, and then last night, and I hung on as long as I could.
you fell asleep just like I did.
Oh, Jesus, I've been watching hockey since 11 o'clock.
But there was 10 minutes left in the second overtime. I'm sitting in the basement, and I'm like, I can hardly keep my eyes open.
I got up and washed my face once just to see if that would help.
And I'm like, screw it. I pulled the blanket on.
Yeah.
I've been up since 4:45.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't keep my eyes open. It's 11:30. And all of a sudden I hear the guy scream, and I opened one eye, and I'm like, oh, it's over. Threw the blanket off and went to bed. So it was,
Well, Andover's kind of. I think if you're going to have a Cinderella team, Andover's the one to have. I've been reading about them. They're of course Minneapolis team, so they get written up quite a bit down there, and where they come from, and it's kind of like the Minneapolis hockey team. Minneapolis has one hockey team. The school district, there's $300,000 people live in that town, and they have one hockey team.
and they play Class A hockey.
And they play Class A hockey.
It's all kinds of wrong. I'm sorry.
It just is.
I don't care what whatever excuse you want to give to me, and as long as I'm going to go down this rabbit hole or this toilet or wherever I'm going to go. Proctor Hermantown. How are they a single A girls hockey team? It's impossible with the numbers, but because they're a co-op, they get special consideration.
Yeah.
That's bull.
Well,
That's bull.
it certainly is.
Talk about the international folks, girls, about a co-op where you've got over 1,100 kids to choose from, with our kids that have 400 to choose from. It's not equitable. It's
We would have. They would be five in the '60s. They would have 5, 6, 7 teams from the cities that begged to come to International Falls to play. And Alexander Ramsey and all the rest of these. These are all Minneapolis. These are all Minneapolis teams, and they're just not there anymore. And it's.
And I'm all for developing hockey in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but when you're putting 7 high schools together, and you're telling me 6 high schools, whatever it is, and you're telling me, hey, by the way, we get to play Class A hockey. No. Sorry,
We're pretty good in Class A hockey.
So
I agree.
anyway,
Yeah,
as long as you made a Minneapolis reference, can I?
absolutely. This
Did
is
you
free.
see the final score in boys basketball from last night? Minneapolis North, in the first round of the playoffs, played a school called, and I'm going to probably get it wrong, so don't anybody judge me. Go look it up. UBAH Medical Academy, I think is what it's called.
Oh.
UBA Medical Academy. The score at halftime was 98-2, and the final score 143-4. These things hang on in my mind, folks, and when he says certain things, they pop up, and I have to tell you about them.
See, there's something the matter with that too.
Yeah, how long did they leave the pressure on? It's okay. So anyway, we're still talking high school hockey.
can still talk.
Hey, are you going to show everybody the bump picture with John Mayes?
Yeah,
I'll get up close. Gives me an excuse.
You can bet that lousy picture from my computer.
But John Mayesich at the game.
John Mayesich at the game.
Did you hear the quote that he gave?
Yeah,
He scored how many ever goals in a game back in the day?
Yeah.
7, I think, was the record in one game that he scored. And he said, I thought I was going to get bumped from the record books.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get bumped by bump. Hey, at 100 years old, John Mayesich still got it going on.
Well, no, and when you take a look
It's not 100. It feels like
no, when you
90.
take a look statistically, the argument can be made that he was the finest hockey player produced. And I mean, he went all over the world. He played pro and college and Olympics, and I mean, this guy was really a stud. And he loves it. He loves these kids. And like all good champions, he'd love to see his record broke. He really would. Yeah.
So, anything else high school hockey that we need to?
No, but there's going to be really good games on tonight, and the games tomorrow are they're going to be a lot of channel flipping tomorrow.
There's going to be a lot of this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm at the section boys basketball tournament with the game on right about here.
So you're going to Duluth?
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to go to Duluth, and here let me explain why I'm going to go to Duluth to watch. why it's important to take my 7-year-old son to watch playoff basketball. That's part of it, folks, to be honest with you, to get to spend some time with DLI, but also take him to the basketball tournament and have him see what goes on. But Cherry, I haven't got to watch Cherry play this year. Cherry plays Southridge, which is kind of my home high school. Southridge has got 2 kids that are 6'7", okay? And Cherry's is pretty good. And they've got Mr. Isaac Asama, and he's worth the price of a trip to
the Asamovs are still there.
They got 3 Asamas now. So anyway, they play each other at 11 o'clock, so I want to be there for that game. Then the 4-5 game is Chisholm and can't think. That's the game after that. So I want to go. I do want to go watch that, and then Deer River's the 3 seed. I think they play the next game, and I'm going to sit and watch that, and then I'm going to turn and burn. And I got a little radio show that I got to do with some guy. This Blues Hour. I don't know if you guys have heard of this Blues.
Watch it.
Have you heard of the music called the Blues? Anyway.
Cheers me up.
Cheers me up. When he does his Blues Hour, and so I promised him we'd do it live this week because it's much more fun when you get to tell everybody to don't forget to vote. You're going to lose an hour of sleep while you're getting the Blues.
We can do that too.
We get to do that tomorrow.
Maybe we can run it 3 hours. Just an idea.
Yeah.
We got a couple of other things to talk about. How about?
I bet you want to talk about the trades of the quarterbacks in the NFL before you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's like Denver loaded up a bus with about half the team and sent it over to Seattle and got their quarterback.
What do you think? Tell me what you think. I
think that what's going to happen is that there's going to be a run on quarterbacks, and the Vikings are going to take and find an option for their quarterback, and they're going to dump him.
Think he ends up in Indy?
Good.
Okay, I want to go back to the Russell Wilson before we get on the Kirk Cousins thing because
I was just done at they just kept on saying names.
Did Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll finally come to a place where they couldn't live together? Two egos, what?
I'm not,
Did Seattle look at it as an organization and say, look how bad we were this year? We thought we were on the edge of getting this team over the edge that we were a playoff team, and they failed miserably, and we need to start fresh by getting rid of our quarterback. Is Russell Wilson, is he hurt worse than we think? Is the body starting to break down? What?
Oh, I mean, he's an incredibly strong, big, healthy quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I'll tell you, Pete Carroll, I sometimes wonder if he could decide whether he was in the entertainment business or the football business, because it's 2 different deals. And entertainment, you can fill the crowd. He had some magnificent athletes on the field. They could do all kinds of stuff. But he was entertaining these people. Well, they're going to look at a point somewhere along the line, we want a football team, and they haven't been able to produce that for quite a while.
So I think we both would agree that Drew Lock probably is not the answer for Seattle, right?
No, I don't think so.
But all of a sudden you've got 2 first-round draft picks, 2 second-round draft picks, and 3 probably first-round picks, now with the 2 coming from Denver. So do you try to package those up and trade them out to get somebody else, or do you? Because I think we've talked about it. We don't really believe that there's that stud quarterback. Can't miss guy out there in the draft. Now maybe they think there is somebody out there, and we're missing them. But some ESPN said this may be one of the most interesting trades in the history of the NFL.
Well, I think so, and it's just can you imagine how long it took to work this one out over the phone? It must have really, really been a bear. But then, of course, I wake up this morning, Khalil Mack has been traded to the Chargers. Now, if I was a defensive coordinator and I'd say, you traded who? On the other hand, he's been around a while. can he still keep that? And there's some incredible edge rushers.
I think he's lost the edge.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, no pun intended.
Yeah.
I think he's lost a step. He's not the Khalil Mack that we remember.
Oh, I don't think J.J. Watt's the same guy either.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And so sometimes a new start, a fresh place. The Chargers are a team that I think is on the rise, and Mack is going to go to a team where he could be the Von Miller for next year.
Oh, I think so.
So it could work out that way. Of course, Carson Wentz, why I mentioned Indianapolis. He gets traded to the Commanders, the Washington Commies, as our friend George likes to call them, the Commies. Did you hear this? That Washington offered Seattle 3 first-round draft picks for Russell Wilson. And Seattle went with Denver with the 2 picks and whatever else.
Yeah.
The 2 second-round picks, excuse me. So, I found
that's
that
an awful
interesting.
lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot. That shows you how desperate I think Washington was. Of course, I read a little bit about Carson Wentz and how he had worn out his welcome already in Indianapolis after one season.
Yeah.
There was the belief amongst the coaching staff. Head coach Frank Reich actually went in and apologized to the owner about that he made a mistake about that because they went out and got Wentz. And that he made a mistake that Wentz needed to go someplace else because it was not going to work.
Well, the Colts offense has Jonathan Taylor. He could well be the best running back in the league, and they want a quarterback that's of that caliber. And they have to actually have it because.
So Kirk Cousins is that guy.
Well, he might be.
You guys want a pizza or a drink?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I honestly, over the last 3 nights since the whole Russell Wilson thing has happened, I actually am like watching my phone to see who's the next one that's going to get traded. The dominoes. What's the next domino to fall? And I don't know. I don't know where it's going to stop. It's going to be interesting. Of course, free agency just right around the corner.
Yeah.
The combine just got done, so teams are looking at saying, look, here's where we're at. This is where we're going to be drafting at. Should we be thinking about trading up? Should we be thinking about trading down? Should we be thinking about trading so-and-so so that we can save money under the salary cap so we can go sign a guy? Yeah, lots of decisions to be made. I assume that big decision, that big thing you wanted to talk about was baseball.
Take me out to the ball game. You know, I mean,
I thought he'd wear a baseball shirt today, but he wore his wrestling shirt.
This is big too.
This is big too.
This is big too. And
let's talk baseball.
But we got to talk baseball. You know, you knew when they finally made a decision, you'd find out about it in the morning, and everybody would cheer, and nobody's going to ever remember that this ever took place. And
the biggest reason why it's not is because they're going to play 162
62 games, that's right. And they were able to squeeze that out, and it's just like, when do you have to be at training camp? Now, you know, and so they're down there.
To Florida or Arizona.
Yeah,
on the plane and get there.
They're hitting the ball right now, and so you know, we have to in this country have to have baseball just to let us know springtime's here, and it's you know, and this is a crazy thing. But there was a movie a long time ago. It happens every spring, and it was a baseball movie, and it was kind of a weird one, but I always liked that title, and the thing of it is that, hey, the Twins are going to be great. Who's playing? I don't know. It's the beginning of a new season.
Well, they already know that they need to go out and find some pitching, so it'll be interesting to see once the CBA gets signed or finalized for sure, that then they can start signing players, trading players. That's going to be interesting. Designated hitter
in both leagues. Now, what do you think of that?
It's time. You know, 50 years of stubbornness by the National League has finally gone away.
I do remember I was at a AAA game down in Memphis or whatever it was. It was a minor league, real good minor league game. The starting pitcher on both teams hit a home run in that game.
Okay.
And I thought, this is baseball of old. Can you imagine the Babino pitching, and all of a sudden he's up to plate?
Yeah, he plays for the Angels right now.
Yeah, I know, he does. He's huge, and he's really good.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani, kind of the anti-designated hitter rule guy, but like I said, I think it's time. The whole idea is, what do people want to see? They want to see
hits.
They want to see the ball hit. Yeah, a good shutout is fun every once in a while, but people want to see the ball hit. And because I'm 34 years old and my knee is shot, doesn't mean I can't hit a baseball.
Ooh.
I may not be able to field it. I may not be able to do a good job at right field.
Remember what Toomey was doing at 40 years old? He was smacking it a long ways. You know,
so to me, that's the reason. I think playing in a National League park, playing in an American League park, which rules are we under? All of a sudden you got pitchers who are hitting, you got pitchers who aren't hitting.
You know the rule I'm kind of glad they dumped? The guy on second in overtime, in extra innings.
Did they get rid of it?
They got rid of it.
I didn't see that.
There's no ghost runner anymore.
That's
and they're looking at the shift for next year, maybe.
I'm glad they didn't get rid of it. To me, I believe that you should be able to put you. Then are they going to say you can't bring the outfielder in for a fifth infielder
I don't know.
when
Maybe
the game's on the line?
If you swat the ball to the opposite field, that doesn't count?
Yeah, exactly.
So
shift them away, let them do what they need to do. But advertising on the jerseys and helmets.
I wonder what that's going to be. Joe's Meats. I could see it on the back of New York Yankees pinstripes.
Of course, the WNBA's been doing it a lot lately. Soccer's been doing it for years. The NBA has gotten into it. It was just a matter of time. There's so much money to be made by it, and the players had to be going, well, yeah, because the owners are going to get more money, so that means we're going to get more money. So, to me, that was a no-brainer. It was a good deal. The fact that the international draft almost held this thing up, almost delayed the season, almost shortened the season, is mind-boggling to me. And I don't understand all the complexities of a international draft, but to me, the NBA has taken care of it. Everybody's in the same draft, so why aren't these international
Well,
players?
you know, and I got to give just an extra shout out to the Utah Jazz for sponsoring some 33,000 beds in Poland for Ukrainian refugees.
Did I hear about that?
And it's like this is the NBA has always kind of been a progressive, take care of your people type organization, and I can't say that was always the same for baseball or for football, and certainly not for the other sports. But the NBA is particularly the Utah Jazz right now. Hey, give them for that.
Attaboys. For that, and it's something like I said. So, anything else baseball-wise? I mean, spring's eternal, right?
No, it does, and the snow as soon as it melts will. But we still have a heck of a month of March to go through a good chunk of April.
I mentioned to the crew at the radio station this morning. I said, well, now we got to worry about getting Twins games on the radio, and they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, the preseason game starts next Friday. We got to have it on the radio, right? If they're playing a spring training game, we got to have it on the radio. And they're like, yeah, you're right, we do. So, you know, this adds another complexity to the madness.
No, if you're not listening to the Blues, you can always listen to a baseball game. That's nothing but the best.
4-1 Hermantown, in case you didn't look. But
go Hawks.
Okay, so we've done basketball, we've done hockey, we did baseball, we did football. What's left, George?
Wrestling. We can talk about wrestling, and I know the high school wrestling. I followed it as close as I could.
There's a lot going on.
A lot going on, and then then the Big Ten. I watched the Big Ten tournament very close. I did not miss any of those matches. But, you know, what made this year's state high school tournament so interesting is both the girls and the boys had tournaments. And there's a family of Rogotskis in Stillwater. Now, I heard the dad, he likes his kids so much that he built a wrestling room down in the basement, and it's completely equipped. And so he has a son, I can't remember what, Ryder, Rogotsky, 44 pins this year at 187 pounds, and he's only a junior. You know, they got to get out an insurance policy on this guy because he's going to probably hurt somebody. 44 pins, that is the state record, by the way.
Okay.
And then you know, and on top of that, he had a little sister who's in 8th grade, and she went and won the state tournament too. So the Vygotskis out of Stillwater have 2 state tournaments, the first brother and sister duo ever.
So who's Dad more proud of, do you think?
That girl growing up had no choice.
But is she a daddy's girl? That's why I say.
Yeah, she's just, and you take a look at Mom. She's got a cauliflower ear. I mean, this family is a wrestling family, and it's just.
And I say it facetiously.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If my daughter won the first ever girls state wrestling championship at a certain weight, I mean, I love my son, but man, I'd be pretty doggone proud of my girl.
Actually, that's what I should have done with Karn. But
there you go. See.
Yeah.
It's all,
anyway,
you missed out your chance, George.
And then the Big Ten tournament. Now the Gophers got 8 through to the NCAA's, and and
did they have 7 and get an 8th?
Did
they get 8 and get a 9th one late?
I think it was 7th, and they got an 8th. But it's like Pat McKee at 125. He lost a close one in the first round, but he came back, and I only saw one more of his wrestlebacks, but he came back for a third. Well, a kid like this is hungry now. And to wrestle back in a Big Ten tournament, like they said, national tournament's really good, but a Big Ten tournament, that's something different. And it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I got to watch 0 seconds of the Big Ten, which hurts me, but Pee Wee A hockey, I was busy, I was working, I had to do my stuff. But the thing to me is this: Michigan wins the Big Ten title.
Michigan won the Big Ten title.
What the heck is going on?
No, and I tell you, Michigan. A lot of this is transfer portal. They got one guy, this Mishi. He comes in, and his other brother transfers through the portal. Well, one's an Olympic champion or an Olympic wrestler. Well, these guys are good. Well, they weren't. Only one of them was there last year. Now they have 2. And he pieced. Everybody cut the weight, and they were out after this team title. And and this is the best thing that happened to Big Ten wrestling. It really is.
So you think Ohio State made a good run here a couple of years ago to get into the mix?
They did.
And part of the reason why the Gophers can't get into that, because these other schools are committing to it because of what Penn State did and stepped up with Kale and what's going on there. And Penn State lost by 1.5 points, and of course that's all those thirds and pins
and wrestlebacks, yes.
And falls. Yeah. But in my mind, to believe that Penn State got outpointed by Michigan was.
Well, I remember when I told you were a god. I actually was.
It's still unfathomable.
Yeah.
It's almost a week later, and I don't know if I still believe that Penn State, with their godlike numbers, obviously duels, they're the god, but they have top flight wrestlers at every weight. So does Iowa. And Iowa comes in a distant third to Michigan.
No, but I'll tell you what, there was no mistaking the dominance of one Gable Steveson.
Well, he didn't even have to wrestle for the championship because the guy was so scared of him, he faked the medical.
Well, that wasn't, he wasn't sick going in, he was afraid he'd be sick coming out. And so, he didn't have to wrestle in finals. He still got a standing ovation in Lincoln, Nebraska. And but the first 2 matches, especially the second one against Mason Paris, they have wrestled. I've seen him wrestle many times. I have never seen him totally dominate the man. Paris is 6'6", 275 pounds. This is no small chunk to be throwing around, and Gable threw him around like a toy. And it's just like, and people were watching. In the first match, he was rolling a guy over, and the guy slipped off and put him on his shoulder. The crowd just gasped. Would Steveson get beat? Oh no, Steveson kicked out of that and just made misery on that poor guy. And at the end, you were almost embarrassed for him because Steveson was putting on an exhibition of wrestling at that time.
Yeah, it's probably the only sure thing we can say in all the March Madness is that Gable Steveson, unless there's an injury or some flash of lightning that strikes him while he's
No.
walking down the street. That
Well, the people are saying to see the best heavyweight wrestler Minnesota's had. No, that's not the term. He is the best wrestler in Minnesota history. It might be in the history of the sport.
yeah, you think about the kid from Cornell that went 159 and 0. I can't think of his name right now. But you look at this and you start thinking that's perfect for 4 years. Well, Gable hasn't been perfect for 4 years, but the dominance, I think, is what kind of puts
That's
it
a
out there.
dominance. And then, of course, his resume right now is flawless with the exception of one match he lost 2 years ago. And, in his whole life, he hasn't lost very many matches.
Doesn't like to lose.
He doesn't like to lose. And, he seems to enjoy himself. He is out there for entertainment. He takes his bow. He's got a cool collect. Not to say that he can't completely lose it. I've seen him close, but he's really a tremendous wrestler. I expect it, and I have the bracketing for next week. I haven't taken a look at it.
I thought about putting that out there because that all gets started on Thursday. Of course, ESPNU usually is the place to go, and now you can watch it all on your phone and your computer and everything else.
I thought I had it, but I wound up with my wife's shrimp fajita.
I was going to say, you ended up with recipes?
Shrimp fajitas.
So like I said, hopefully the wrestling will go well, and I'd like to see the Gopher guys make a little run.
Well, I think they can. And even at that, how many Big Ten wrestlers are in this NCAA? It's a lot of wrestlers.
Well, here's the thing: Michigan wins the Big Ten. Does that mean that they've got a chance to win the NCAA's? That's
what they're shooting at.
Everybody says, well, yeah, they should, but now you start mixing in all these other teams, and now you start eliminating guys.
Those weights all have to match up, and I'll tell you, if I had to pick a favorite right now, it'd probably be Penn State.
Yeah, I think they're the one, and Iowa. But you would think Penn State, Iowa would be 1-2, and but you just never know.
And one of the secrets that Penn State is Cale Sanderson. I think he really has the pulse of his wrestlers. He was dominant enough in his own right to expect that, and I think his wrestlers really like him a lot.
I agree.
Yeah.
How about the Loons, Minnesota United? Did you watch any of it on Saturday?
I saw bits and pieces, and it looked cold to me. I thought
cold, driving rain.
I thought that. I always kind of assumed that soccer's meant to be played. I've seen a couple soccer matches, and it was in the summer with sun stuff,
Yeah, a little chilly, a little rainy. Even lightning delays the match.
There was a hardcore crowd there, though, and they had.
Those soccer fans are tough.
They are.
Tough.
Yeah, they are.
And we got everything else done because
you got to tell me about some swimming.
I want to talk a little bit about swimming. I got to go to my first ever state swimming and diving meet. For a sports freak like me, getting to these state tournaments is a big deal. I've been to softball, I've been to baseball, football, hockey, the basketballs, the biggies, golf. You want to start checking some of these other ones out.
Yeah, you do.
And of course, the Broncos had an outstanding section meet with Anthony Scholler, Adrian Manassa, Will Serrano, and Colton Hollis all getting to go and swim down at the state meet. And I got to go down there and watch and interview the kids live after they got done racing. And their relay team, the 400 relay team of those four guys that I mentioned, they swam on Friday, and there were 18 schools that swam. 16 were going to make the finals. And I don't think the boys swam their best on Friday. And they were waiting. Anthony was in the pool. He swam the last leg of the last 100, and the other three guys were all standing on the deck. And I'm from here to the window away from them, and I'm watching. and they're all like this, looking at the clock, waiting. And when they saw that they were 15th and they had made the finals, you would have swore they had won the Super Bowl. They were jumping up and down, hugging, smiling. You couldn't wipe the smiles off their faces. And then, George, they go out and swim the next day, and they take 1.9 seconds off that time that they swam, and almost broke the school record. And yeah, some pretty proud boys.
So, for four guys, this is going to be one of the best performances by any swim team ever.
In a long time since they've had that kind of
and with a diver as well.
And with a diver as well, and over the past few years, they've had some. This was a pretty good, exceptional group of seniors that came through. So congratulations to them. I was proud to be there. I also got told this. I have to share this story with everybody. When I got my credentials, they had everybody listed on the computer of everybody who had credentials. So the Star Tribune, the blah blah blah. And they're all either TV stations or newspapers. I thought, okay. So I got down there, and I don't know my way around. So I'm like, I finally asked somebody. I said, where do I go? How do I do this? I've never done this. And they said, you're with a radio station? And I'm like, yeah. We've never, ever had somebody from a radio station do reports from the state swimming meet. Never. They said, you're the first one ever. And I'm kind of like, well, there you go. Maybe I started something new. I would have loved to have done. I would have loved to have broadcast the actual when they swam and dove. I would have loved, but it's already on. It's on TV, so you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah,
without
I know.
too much. But it was very interesting to be there the first time ever, and it was fun. It was interesting. It was a good time. I enjoyed it, and I hope that I get to go back more in the future.
I hope you do too.
So yeah, big stuff there, and of course the rest of our winter sports on the American side are complete. We're still following along with the Muskie and Laker hockey teams, but we've been busy and running around, and
it's been a long winter. You have worked.
58 games.
58 games.
58 games.
That's insane.
Not too bad.
No.
Anything else?
Listen to the Blues on Saturday night, 9 to 11.
Blues on Saturday night. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.